Okay, everyone, thanks for joining me. Let me quickly tweet and do all those things. And all right, how's everyone doing today? Let me actually make sure the sound is coming through. Yep, that seems to. And then if we do this guy, that should be that as well. So that looks like it's probably working good. Good afternoon from Chicago. It's rainy Nova Scotia up here. Okay, let me pop this out. Do a little pop out like that so I don't. Sounds good. Great. All right, guys. So, again, if anyone is new to these streams, or if you're watching this recording and you're new to that as well, essentially what we do is I just do my weekend scanning publicly as opposed to just generally how I do it before. So I'll talk about the markets and what I find interesting about them and all of those things, getting all that going. And then we'll talk about the short videos that I talked about last week, the little 1-minute videos I make every night, talking about different stocks, kind of how I traded them, if I traded them. And then we'll scan through and we'll go to find what's going to, I think, is going to be on the list for Monday. And then I'll go and end the stream there and make that video and upload that. So all along, feel free to ask questions. The only reason to do this publicly is to, make sure that is for the interaction, right? Otherwise, I would just do it all. I do it all privately. So, right. Otherwise, yeah, I'd just be a hermit and do it by myself. So if there's anything that doesn't make sense or anything that you want to talk about a little more, we can ask some questions and do all that. You see here, I'm just going to start by going through this list that I have, which is kind of my market watch list that I take a look at every night, starting with Bitcoin, but we're actually going to go through a bunch of cryptocurrencies. I'm getting more and more, trading them more and more. My focus is going on trading them. Just simply because they move more, and the fact that there's no halts and there's no weekend close or anything, so I can just set up my orders, let it go, and then I'll either get stopped out or I'll hit my profit target and rinse and repeat. So I'm in the process now of building some algorithms for that, and that will be something that will be included in the Stats Edge trading course or product whenever I get to that, which I am hoping by end of May is when that will launch. 1st of June. That's the goal. Anyway, just got to figure out things like how to accept payments, how to do refunds if people don't like the service, that type of thing. And again, we'll be capping that at 100 people. So you can go to my website, which is in the description. Let's actually just go. Right. And on the bottom of any page, I'll link that, is this email list. And if you're on the email list, then you got an email about this live stream that's going on. So people on that email list will get first crack. I won't do any promotion on Twitter or anything like that when it goes live. And again, I hope that's going to be fairly soon. So Right into it, looking at Bitcoin. Let's go to the weekly chart here on Bitcoin. You can see we've had this big, strong push up, obviously, from the breakout, right? $10,000, right? It's just been rocketing to 60, which, again, seems like a lot, but based on what we've seen in some of the stocks right now, isn't too much. And, then it's been pulled back, and it looks like possibly another higher move coming in here. If we take a look at the daily on Bitcoin, you can see that it's kind of putting in this channel that I've been drawing out here. Full disclosure, I have been shorting Bitcoin. Basically started in this area, and I've been tweeting about this. I've been live tweeting about this. So it started in the 60,000s, covered as it sold through here, shorted a bit more on this bounce. You can see that it's respecting these dojis really well. Every time it gets to these kind of dojis and spinning tops, that's a pretty good indication of a turning point for it. So I've basically just been playing that. And on the 4-hour chart, I just tweeted this morning, I did take a little bit more short, just based off this tweezer top right here. And it looks like that might be violated. So that position, that little ad may be stopped out soon. But basically just working slowly into a short position. I'm not betting against, the death of the crypto market or anything, but the way I look at it is if this is stage 1 of a pullback and then we get a bounce and then we have kind of stage 2 of a pullback and we end up in this high volume $30,000 area. Well, if I'm short from, started at 60, adding at 50, so say if I'm short from 50,000 or 60,000, and then it gets to 30, well, it's a 50% gain, and then maybe exit there and look for a chance to, build up a position and go higher. And only other one I wanted to talk about is Doge. If you are trading Doge, again, I always love the story of, same with GameStop, I love these stories of the little guys, pushing around markets and stuff like that. It's a game the big guys have been doing for ages. So, I'm pro those type of things. However, I'm a trader, and I understand that this thing will only go up as long as people keep buying it. And there's no sign that there's going to be any institutional participation in Doge. So at some point, the bag holders are going to be most likely retail traders, right? So I just want to make sure people understand that. When it comes to Doge, this Saturday Night Live with Elon on it, I can't find an outlet to short Doge, but just off my head, what may happen is he may come out and say some bullshit about Doge, and the thing spikes to and past $1 and then just crashes into the ground after that. Again, it's the markets, anything can happen, but I just want to make sure people understand that this is most likely a pump and dump. There's, it's just most likely it's going to be what it's going to be, right? It's going to rocket and it's going to tank. So if you're in it, if you're trading it, just understand that nothing ever goes up forever. We've, since Tulip Mania, there's been increases and then there's been crashes, and there's been increases and there have been crashes. So is the crash at $10? I don't know. Just make sure if you own it, if you have it, that you have some type of plan on getting out. I don't care if it's a good plan, that it's a plan, because I would hate to see, it would, if it was me and I put 20 grand into Doge when this started, I didn't, and I was worth $1 million on paper right now, and it does crash and it goes back to zero and you end up losing that money. That mental toll, I think, would ruin investing for you probably forever, right? So again, be careful. This question from Vlad: what platform are you using to short crypto? Kraken. So Kraken will allow 5 times leverage, and they'll allow long short crypto trading. It's a margin trade, so you have to pay margin fees and that type of thing, but not affiliated with them. If someone from Kraken is listening and they want me to be, I would. I've been trading with them and I have business arrangements with them. Again, I have business arrangements in the crypto space that I don't talk about for reasons that I can't talk about. But I've used them both from the business side and from the personal side. And it's a fine platform. Hasn't had any security issues. The trading fees aren't the greatest, but I trade with IB because I don't like the concept of no commission. There's no such thing as no commission, right? You're paying it somewhere. So that's the crypto space. Again, just be careful, right? There's nothing. This could be a very complex topping formation that's going on. If we get another push up here, I'll obviously be out break even at this point. But if we get a push up into the 70,000s, I may try another bit there and see if we pull back. But again, I'm just trading them. So into the other markets, let's actually clean up some of this indicators that I'm playing with, just because I like playing with them. And there we go. Price action. Howdy to you. So weekly on the market, we had, again, just another quick pullback into this area that held as support, bounced higher, heard all of the naysayers, the doomsdayers, the this, that, the other thing on this candle and on this candle and here. So, oh shit, we're going to we're tanking. And right, just the market is strong. Don't bet against the market is basically the moral of the story. With a lot of these things, if you look, it's strong, but it's messy. And I'll show you where the mess is for most people is right here in the technology space. New traders are used to these growth names, Teslas and AMDs and things like this. Just you buy it and it spikes 20% and you sell it and you're a genius. And then you wait for the next one to buy and it spikes 20%, you sell it and you're a genius. And we're not in that market anymore because you can see what's going on here. And if I go into my comparison charts here for TradingView and I go into compare, and this one is very interesting, where this is basically a chart of value stocks or growth stocks over value stocks. So if this is moving higher, growth is outperforming value. If this is moving lower, value is outperforming growth. You can see that from the beginning of the year into February, where I've heard most people say that it's a very hard market for them. It's because of this, right? Value stock or growth stocks have been getting killed, where value stocks have been holding on. We had another kind of sideways move through March, April, May, and it looks like we're breaking down here again. So this is why, even though this market's incredibly strong, I think there's so many people having such issues. So again, note that. But at the same time, note, I don't think shorting this market is the answer, because as we go through this, it's all incredibly strong with really not too much to say about it other than that. As I look at it, everything's just kind of trying to look for a standout or trying to look for something that's something to write home about, but really not seeing anything there at all. XLE might be hitting a high, I don't know, but another one that I watch is this XLE versus TAN. So XLE versus TAN is essentially your boring energy sources, your nat gases and oils and stuff like this, versus your green energy, your solar power type thing. And you can see, it's been outperforming. Solar's been outperforming for a very long time. Been basing sideways again since about end of the year, beginning of next. And now it looks like it's breaking out of this big long base. So we may see a continuation of oil and things like this outperforming those natural gas things for a while. So technical analysis of the market is just everything strong. So with the Qs and everything, you gotta look and you gotta say, okay, well, the Qs are underperforming the market. That means technology. It means growth stocks are underperforming these value type names. So if you are going to trade, try to stick to more boring stocks. Probably a much better bet. Another thing I like to look at is this comparison of what has happened in the US sectors over the last 5 days. And this is basically just a breakdown. Each of these lines represents a different one of the major sectors, just so we can see what's doing well and what's doing not so well or poorly. Again, we have XLE at the top, energy doing the best. We have XLB with materials doing next. We've all seen the memes and the charts and everything about lumber prices, I'm sure. Below that, we have financials. And then below that, we have industrials. So the top performing sectors continue to be the boring, lame sectors out there. And again, I think this is all important to note. I don't take trades directly off of this, but I think it's important to go, okay, where is the money going? The money is leaving technology, leaving these growth names, the tech names, the Palantirs, all the LiDAR sensor one was at MVIS. It's leaving all of these things and it's going to more boring names. So as traders, our only job is to find out where the money is going and try to get on that as well. So my focus will be things like energy stocks or retail, things like this going forward. All right, so let's go into here. 1 second. So I'm just loading up my YouTube channel to see the picks that I made for last week. There's another thing on the YouTube channel. If you guys haven't seen it, please go check it out, where we did a webinar with Trade Ideas and the new product that I built with Trade Ideas and the CMT. And it was actually really, really fun. I enjoyed it. As a recent CMT grad, I thought it was great. I have to get more videos up. I just looked to my channel. It's all these shorts, which people are really liking, but the views are great and all that. But I should do more educational content as well. Right. So this week would have started on the 2nd, which would have been PubM, which I actually answered some questions about on Twitter. Nothing happened, right? I was looking for PubM over this base right here. Didn't happen. Still going to keep this on watch for a very long time just because of the 40% short float. If this thing ever gets going, that 40% short float is going to be big. But I'm not, when I trade short float names, I don't want to buy them on pullbacks or buy them on weaknesses. I want to buy them when it's strong, because that's when shorts are going to get nervous, right? Shorts will not get nervous if, for example, something they're short is tanking. They're fine with that. That's what they're after. So nothing happened with PubM. PDCO. I am in PDCO still. I'm out most because I'm out most things that don't work so well. So PDCO is kind of right in this. I was just looking for a breakout of this area right here. That's what we got. I entered in on the breakout. I got out most on this day here, just because in this market there's been so much breakout, pull back and get you, breakout, pull back and get you, that I've started selling most of my positions very quickly and then holding on for a small little bit. So I do still have a small little bit, but full disclosure, I was out most here. That one worked kind of exactly like we wanted it to. IMVT, I am still watching. I still like this one. It's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. The theory with IMVT was essentially this thing has gone from $50 to $10, and it has 11% short float. So at some point, those people are going to get nervous about a bounce and they're going to cover. So what I want to see on IMVT is just a break of this tightening pattern that's happening here, this ascending triangle. I think I posted it maybe around this day and just hasn't done much of anything. So I want to kind of see a full clear. I'm probably going to say $17. These whole numbers, if we get a break and a hold over 17, then maybe that's where I'll participate in that. But I haven't gotten to this one yet, but I am still interested. Let me pop in a price alert here just to make sure I still have that on multiple price alerts that will yell at me for multiple reasons. And ABCL. ABCL, same thing, no trade, but still watching. Essentially just this descending trend line right here. Still want to see this thing over 30, so I'm just going to, again, put another price alert, but nothing trade with this. And then last but not least, Hope, which I know I didn't get in yet, but again, still watching, right? I put these things out when they're in the base so that people can watch them as they break out. Hope's a bit of a slow one. I really don't know how much I'll participate in that. It's just, if we get the break to the high, that's $1.50. So I'd have to take a pretty large position to make what I like to make on these as well. Let me just look back quickly. Jamie says, great video. Thank you. I really liked it. Sean does a good job of moderating them, and Tyler's just a really cool guy in his own right. I've met him in person a few times. Question about Brokerage Plus. Is there a formula under risk management where I can set a stop at yesterday's low? Yeah, let me grab that for you. I have the same thing where I have all of my entries. I use this all of the time. But you just have to do it via custom formula. So WCC, I think you probably know the basics of customs already, but if you don't, I'll get you the video. Yesterday's stop at yesterday's low. It's basically just, so here's the formula for the custom formula window, like that. And if you put that in and make that as a filter, and then you put that filter under your Brokerage Plus, it will put the stop at yesterday's low. So let me, for example, I don't know what it will do today. Let me sign into this is my demo VPN and my demo account with Trade Ideas to show stuff off to you guys. So if I click and I say I want to buy Hope, it may put it under what it would consider today's low, but maybe not because the market's closed and it's Saturday. But yeah, that formula, if you add that in and then put that as your thing, then you should be good to go. You guys are gonna see me check back on Bitcoin every now and then. I'm just basically watching. If we break down into this triangle, I may short more. I'm really kind of betting on the fact that the Saturday Night Live thing may be a crypto topping event. Because regardless of the markets, the game still remains the same, where they wait for enough retail involvement to get in, and then they smash it. So again, I'm going to keep an eye. So those are the videos. The only one I took this week was PDCO. The rest of them I'm still watching because they're sitting in a base and they're sitting in a range. And that already did the market wrap up, so that's good there. So we may just shoot the shit if people can while I scan for other things. This is an indicator that I think is really cool for TrendSpider. If you're TrendSpider people, if you want to try TrendSpider or Trade Ideas, the links in the descriptions are affiliate links. So again, full disclosure, I get paid if you buy using those, which is one of the main reasons I do a lot of this, but I'm going to be pushing for this to be added to Trade Ideas soon because it's relative volume charted out, which I always thought would be super cool. And I'm leaving it up here because I'm just trying to notice if there's any, any kind of indication from it. And so far, no, but maybe, it's one of those things, maybe going forward, maybe I got to decrease the EMA length and see. I guess that wouldn't matter. I think we're going to do ours as a histogram and just do it at point in time. What was the relative volume of the closing price at that time? Make it simpler. But yeah, so NLS, not looking great, but I did enter this one on Friday. I may have got ticked in. stop under here. MAC, which is one we talked about last week, I did enter on Friday, and I like this nice pullback. Touch the 20, and then looks like it may bounce. This one's another boring one, just an investment pool. So just scalping. Doing a lot of that kind of swing scalps from there. Brett says he liked the CMT video. Thank you. That was great. They're super, super cool guys there. I really liked forcing me to study some things that I may not have studied in the past. Plus, maybe the designation will open some doors in the future, but I'm pretty content just living out here in the woods, trading away. Where am I finding these stocks from? I find them from the Trade Ideas scanner. So if you're not a Trade Ideas member, you can check it out. Oh, I should probably pump the test drive. I keep forgetting. That's starting on, well, if you sign up now, you should get it in maybe the next hour or so. I always assume most of the people that watch live are already Trade Ideas people. But if you're not and you wanted to give it a shot, let me find this here. There is a test drive, and what test drive is for like $9. We give you 2 weeks of access into the program. So we're basically charging you for the, the data that they get charged. Not fully, right? It's still a loss on Trade Ideas side, but we just like to open it up, give you 2 weeks, play with it, see if it's something that you think will improve your trading. And right, if you can't, it's one of those things. If the $9 is a prohibitive factor, then I honestly wouldn't suggest getting a platform like that. You can do certain things on your own, and really, I think it's important to. The other thing is, if $10 is a prohibitive factor, trading that actively probably isn't something that you should be looking at anyway. But enough ranting. I can share some of these scanners. Some of them won't go through. I can share the scan, which I like, which is basically just stocks that are near their short-term moving average, ranked by how shorted the stock is. And I can share the rounded bottom here as well, which the other ones I can't share, not because I'm hiding them or anything, but just because they have a bunch of custom formulas in them. Now, part of the Stats Edge trading product that I'm building is coming out will have a website somewhere that only members can get to, that will have all of the scans that I use currently, and then have all of the custom formulas listed out, and then a video to help put in the custom formulas as well. And that will be part of just everything else that's going in there. So again, if you're interested, stay tuned for that, and you'll get access to all of those with all the customs as well. First we'll go through this one. The moral of this particular scan is it's looking for stocks that are putting in the best way that I could build out myself these kind of rounded bottom type plays. And these can be very, very powerful when it comes to different scans as well. The beauty of, what is it, JC always says, JC from All Star Charts, if you're not following them, he's just a great technician and really good guy too. I've met him a few times. If you talk to him, thank him for saving me from a hobo in San Diego. It's a long story, but he thinks he saved me from a hobo, and I like to let him have that think. So it's essentially just looking for stocks that are down a bunch on the year, but they've been putting in these bases for a long time. These are more for swing scalping type people, because if you're looking for a very long-term move, you generally want to be in the trend continuation crowd. These are good because what they're doing is they're looking for a possible breakout of this base to retrace even part of that down move. So in these, hopefully you're in and you're out a little bit later. But if you're the guy who's looking for the really big long-term moves, probably not. For you, one thing that's interesting about Posh here from the first one is this, and I think I may have already made a video about this, but I'm gonna make them again if they're setting up again. It's just gonna be something I'm gonna do. But I bet you I did. Let me search Posh, Posh. No, I don't see anything. Okay, well, this is a good candidate already. Again, I like the fact that there's 29% short on this. I do not like the fact that we are sitting on earnings coming in the 12th. So what, Monday will be the 10th. So that means Wednesday is earnings. So that's prohibitively close for me. I do like the look of this one though. So yeah, you'll see a lot of these have the same kind of a move that says, okay, the initial move was down on these stocks, but now it's kind of resting. So if it's going to bounce, so for example, these short hits on blue, for example, which again is another one that's very interesting to me, would be, can I get from here, maybe even into the gap? So can I get from 30 to 40, which would be 30% gain? So it's, again, one of those things, and this is ranked by short float, so you'll see a lot of high numbers here. So blue is very, very interesting to me. I like the fact that we've got this ascending trend line or ascending triangle kind of going on here. We've got a tightening of the bands, which is something I'm watching just more and more when it comes to just finding what is the way I use Bollinger Bands now. And I never really for a long time, but it's a way to visualize how tight a range is compared to how tight it was before. So you can see them tightening on both ends here and just showing that this thing is consolidating. And I've always traded kind of a theory of that the market goes from tight range to expanded, from tight to expanded, from tight to expanded. So the hope is that you get some sort of expanded range from here, and that expanded range is to the upside. So blue is very interesting as well. There's times where this scan works really well, and there's times that the scan works really awfully. And it works really awfully when the entire market is strong. You can see IMVT here that we talked about earlier. The thing I like about these more than anything is they're what I like to call, I think I got this from the Shadow Trader guys, but right or right out style trading, which they termed as basically you are right, the day or the second day of, or you're out. And that's how I trade these type of moves. So for example, with this GRTS, if we've got a pop in through here and in through 10, I think this may be, is this a SPAC? I don't know. Anything near 10, I always get worried it's SPAC. But say I get a pop through here and that day it doesn't close above that base, I'm probably out immediately. And what happens is you get a lower win rate with this. These probably are in the 45-ish win rate, but I'm getting 5, 6, 8 times my risk, because even though my initial risk would be kind of down here, if we break out and then pull back that day, I'm probably out. So my actual risk is kind of in this area, whereas reward is way up there. And that's, again, that's me. I'm never going to be the guy who's, I'm right 60, 70, 80, 90% of the time. Those people may exist, but they're probably doing something incredibly dangerous. I am just of the mindset that I want to be right 40% of the time. If I can get to above 50, I'm a very happy man, because my risk reward is 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. So just over time, that's kind of the most chill way to make money. So this is the one that I can't share, but will be on the website when it's up. There's like 5 custom formulas in it. But essentially what it's looking for is stocks that these bands are squeezing very, very tight together. And it uses anyone who's been trading, I guess you probably heard of a TTM squeeze. It's the same kind of concept that I just put a little spin on. NGL. Yeah, that one's a bit of a choppy. I really like the look of this NGL, but what I don't like is that, like, if it gets all the way back up here, that's only $3. So then I do the math and I say, okay, well, I risk $500 to $1,000 usually on a trade, right? And it should always, I don't talk about the numbers much, although I am going to start doing some live trading videos again because people miss those. Because I don't think the numbers are relevant. It should be a percentage of your account, right? So I risk 0.5% of the value of my account on any trade. So that being said, I got to look at it and I got to say, okay, well, if I'm buying here and I'm going to stop it out here, that risk of $500, how many shares am I going to have to take? So how much buying power is that going to accrue, right? So if I'm buying it, I'm basically risking less than 20 cents. I'm going to have to take a massive position on this in order to keep that risk kind of parallel with the rest. But other than that, I do like the chart. MDRX, very interesting here. Breakout and then a little pullback, looking like it may continue here. It's just not, it didn't slap me. Macy's, I'm still in. I think I'm in Macy's from here with a stop right there. And it got very close to it the other day and then got close to it again. And this thing's just chopping. I'm thinking being out of it soon. We got May 18th for earnings. So it may be one of those things where it's just sloppy until earnings. SM is very interesting. A little just overdone for me. Right, from 5 to 17. Could this chop resolve higher? Absolutely. But it's not really the bet I want to take. The way I look at it is that's just too much. That's just too overdone. CIN, this one looks good, but we have earnings. I really love this color coding that Trade Ideas puts and basically says, marks it in yellow. It says, hey man, earnings only a few days away. You should be careful, but I do really like the look of this one. I'm going to be back in just 2 seconds, guys. I believe there might be someone at the door. Chinese rocket, who knows? Ooh. No, false alarm. I've got those smart home cameras. I live in the middle of the woods. So I have them pointed all directions around the house. I don't know, see a bear out there or something before you let the dogs out, something like that. And I like tech. So I don't know what picked up this time, but false alarm. Maybe we're under attack. Who knows? Ambac's interesting. Earnings. It's you guys have probably noticed if you dealing with trading, swing trading in particular during earnings is hard. I've been focusing more and more on day trading just because it's working better in this market than normal. And again, I always find I'm like, oh, I really like the look of this, and then it's got earnings in like 2 days, which is not the best. OMB is interesting. Commercial banking. And for you TI Strength Alerts member, it's not going to be this week. If any of you guys are members to that, I'm actually going to start sending them out on Sunday. Now that I've gotten a flow together, it's getting quicker to write it up and send it out. So there's hope again still. So you guys should start getting those Sunday. Again, not this week, but maybe the following week. We got to change a lot of the language and stuff. But and then also when that happens, the platform should update Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening as well. I just know there's a lot of people out there with jobs that like that product for that particular reason, is they've got stuff to do. So to me, it just makes sense if I can send it out Sunday afternoon. That's great, because then people have time to sit down Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and do all their scanning and set all their orders, and away they go. We basically did Monday because the amount of math that algorithm needs to do is insane. There was times where I was setting it on Friday night, having it up in a virtual machine. Like, I'm a Mac guy, right? So if I do this, it's Mac, right? This is a virtual machine that's hanging out. This one is on my local computer, but most of them I do are in the cloud, and it's crunching those numbers. Sometimes it was taking till Sunday evening to do it, and then I'd have to come in Sunday evening and write it up. But it's taking less and less time to run, so it's more and more time to you guys to analyze it. So I hope that's going to be a really positive change, because then we can sit down and kind of go through them as well. It was too hard to analyze quickly before Monday morning. You know what? Maybe I'll send this one out earlier. Can I do that now, or is it too late? Make changes. Delivery. Yeah, I can edit it. Yeah, maybe I'll send this one out Sunday night. I'll have to tell the guys in support, because there'll be some angry person that will come in and says, the marketing material says Monday morning, and I got mine and I didn't see it in my email or something, which is why I'm capping Stats Edge Trading, the product, at 100 people to begin with, because I just could not be bothered with. I'm not doing that to get rich, right? That's a secondary form of income. So anyone comes in like that, I'll just be like, okay, goodbye. It's really, geez, what the hell is that? Oh, acquisition company. So it's just hanging out near 10. I was like, that's an ugly chart, but these SPACs have just been, right? Space. I know it's no longer a SPAC, but CCIV. Like, these SPACs have been hammered. Space, you notice I got a little line here. I should actually make that a price alert. I'm going to create a price alert. I want it long if it falls to that area. I just drew out this line as kind of an important area. So maybe we get, and basically just looking at the low of this pullback here, maybe if we get there, RSI is starting to weaken. I generally get in trouble when I trade like that, so I shouldn't. How's the product? How's the progress on the product? I wish I could say it was great. It's just been just not enough time. Now, next week, I'm looking at my calendar over here. Looks a little bit better, so that's the plan. Again, my goal is to have it out by end of May. So that gives me 3 weeks. And again, I and we'll talk about it at the end like we always do. I pretty much understand what I'm going to give to begin with. And again, I'm going to cap it. We're going to, get feedback, talk about it, talk about things that you guys may want to see, may want to add, that kind of thing. So mid-June, yeah, probably. It's logistics, right? So I got to take a course with Squarespace, who I made my web through, for accepting payments, and I want to make sure that there'll be. I don't want to do the if you pay for a year you get this, right? I just want it to be, if you're interested, come in. If you don't like it, leave, right? I just need to make sure that process, that somebody signs up and they get access to 5 or 6 different things that I'm going to do, as automated as possible. Because again, I like to do these streams because I know I'm talking to a friendly audience, but there's just has to be that balance of when it's worth my time versus the income made on it. So if the more efficient I can make it, the more it's worth my time for the money. And I know that sounds douchey as hell, but it is what it is, right? This last scan that I shared, which I just called the scan, because for a while there, it was the only thing I was using. This one will give you a lot more results because it's like, this one is very specific looking at this bottoming technical pattern. This one is very specific because it's looking at the squeeze action of the price. This one is basically every stock in the market that is close to its 8-period daily moving average ranked by short float. So there's a lot here. So it's one of those things when it comes to scans, there's like a spectrum, right? You either have a very, very specific scan that is exactly only what you want to see, and it's only going to produce a couple results, or you have a very wide loose scan, and then you're going to filter it by eye. So generally speaking, what I'll do is I'll do these two, which are very specific first. And if something really pings me as, yep, that's the 2 or 3 stocks you want to watch tomorrow, then I'm done and I'll shut it down. I have some here that I'm interested in. But just while we're here hanging out, I'll go through this one as well, which is kind of my backup, where basically I'm letting trade ideas filter the whole universe into something that's not very specific, but is close, and then sort those by short float so that I have that kind of short float pop, because that's something that is very interesting to me. I always try to, if I can. I don't think a short float is necessary for a good trade, but I do think it helps. Anytime that you can predict what one type of market participant is going to do, I think that's going to help you out in the long run. IPOE. So yeah, what you'll notice is, so this orange line I have here is the moving average. It's an 8 EMA, but we don't have that in the system with trade ideas. So I use an 8 SMA, and it's going to be pretty close most of the time. And basically the scan, if I open it up and I show you guys, it's just saying stocks that are within 2% above and below, so within like a 4% band of the 10-day, sorry, not the 8, the 10-day SMA, and then I just sort it by short float. So in theory, right, there's probably hundreds of stocks or thousands of stocks that could be in it, but this is the one that I go through kind of if and when I'm still looking for stuff, right? This DISCA, right? This was part of that whole hedge fund blow up. It's getting interesting to me. I want to see it base longer. All right, I want to see it continue to do this for another little bit, but this is something that's, you should put on a watch list, I think. Just short float is pretty big. This whole blow up of everything that's happened, that caused this move, and then it retraced a certain percentage of that move. So the question now is, do we just chop sideways for a while and then start to grind back higher? But I just don't think this has been around enough to resolve those particular issues. So yeah, at the end, we'll go through the product. When I'm done this list, I am going to go through the strength alerts, because if you guys don't know, let's just do a new top list, and then I can show you that in the back office here. So if you go to symbol lists, and then you can see we have both TI strength and TI strength archive. So if you tick both of these, what it will do is it will show you the current TI strength. Sorry, I got to start that. We got to just remove these filters. And then by sort, let's just, I don't know, pick something. There we go. So what this will be is the current TI strength list, and then all of the past ones. Some of these have been an absolute monster. Like for the $17 that people are paying for this, like BFG was right here, and that's been insane. CYH has just been an absolute monster. BWA, I think, was in this area, so it took a while, but MPC, oh, Jess gonna be mad. She's trading this as well, and I think she got out here, and now we're up there. Cake is one that I'm still watching. Right, I like the fact that we gapped up over earnings, and then we put in all these bottoming tails around 60, showing me that someone's accumulating cake in this area, and it may be time for a shoot to 70. I got sidetracked. I'm not on the scan yet. We'll do that in a second. Do I care the range of the RSI or only that it's headed up? I actually look for the RSI only for divergences. So generally speaking, the RSI should follow price. So in this instance, we had a push up, and then we had a push up in price. But you notice here we had a push up and then a push up in price. But this one made a new high, and this one made a lower high. So divergence simply means, and this is not a trading philosophy in and of itself, but what it means is that what should have happened is that this made a higher high again, the same way, right? If we remove that price, that other one, and we say, okay, price had a push up, and so did the RSI. This one had a push up higher, and so did the RSI. And you're only looking at top versus top, right? And then same on the way down, right? This one made a low right here, but here another low was made, and then a higher low was made. So this is moving higher while this is moving lower. And that's what they call an RSI divergence. So essentially what this can mean is a decrease in momentum. It's basically taken less force to make this high than it did this high, which could mean that there is it floated up, people will call it, right? That it didn't meet as much resistance as it went. And then sometimes people will signal these for tops. This isn't a really great example of a major one, but this one may be, where this one's been trending down for a while and this has been trending up for a while. So this, if you were to look at this, you would say, okay, well, this is my reason to look at the stock. And now let me use my technical analysis and maybe draw a wedge or something like that and say, okay, well, I'll take this if it breaks out of this wedge, and I'll put a stop, right into the pattern or at the low of the pattern and go from there. So that's kind of what this type, and I just picked this one because we were looking at it when you asked the RSI question, not because I like that, but now that I look at it, we have this RSI divergence, which is a bullish indicator. This one's been trending down for a very long time. It's got a 23% short float. Earnings are out of the way. So the RSI may be a reason to look at it. And then you say, okay, here's my pattern. So the trade may be a break and a hold above 10, and then a stop a little bit under this low, which would be 9, call it, right? So you're risking $1, and you say, okay, well, what's the probability that I get from 10 to 12? That's not a huge leap for the stock. So that's how I take a look at it. And that's something, again, that I learned in the CMT. When I got that, they talk a lot about divergences. And it's basically the long short of a divergence. And I'm actually going to put that one there as well. I talked myself into it. The long short of it is the best way. This is a trading philosophy. Actually, let's go full for this because I think this may be important. See, if I had an editor, I could go, hey, editor, cut this bit out, but maybe in the future. Trading generally is things should happen when things happen. So that's a stupid statement. But for example, when I was showing the RSI, I was saying if the stock makes a lower low, the RSI should make a lower low. If it doesn't, then that's something to look at. Other examples of this that people commonly use is a stock has great earnings and sold off, which happened a few times this week. So it's one of those things. It's not what, if something happens the way it should happen, it's boring and there's really nothing there. If something happens the way it shouldn't happen, then that's very interesting, right? So if a stock says, okay, we destroyed earnings, we just obliterated earnings entirely, and it gaps down, it sells off. That's not what should happen, but that's what will make a lot of traders take notice. So again, with the RSI, the fact that this has been selling off, but the RSI has been holding steady to moving a little bit higher, that's not what should happen. And then every time something does that is where I take notice. So another way that people will do it is they'll look at a base break, and that may be something like happened here on Bitcoin, right? Where you would imagine if we broke out of this high, that we should continue higher. And we broke out of that high and we sold back down. And that was my reason for my short at $60,000, is because we broke out of this high, we put in these two indecisive candles, then we started to break down. So I shorted right in this area, and then was immediately rewarded, got out some of the position. And now I've just been following this kind of ascending trend line, shorting as we get to the top and covering some as we get to the bottom. But it's just one of those, right? And that's, I think, an important lesson in trading, is because when something is off, again, trading is all crowd psychology, right? So people are saying, okay, well, I'm going to buy stocks because the textbook told me to buy a stock that was breaking out. If the stock breaks out immediately and crashes back down, that's why I get out nearly instantly. Some people actually wait for those and they take short positions, because again, when something is different than what it should be, that's when you should kind of perk up and take notice. And that's the reason for a divergence of RSI, MACD, stochastics, any of these oscillators. So I don't look at it as, okay, it's oversold, time to buy, it's overbought, time to sell. That doesn't really work like that, and it's been mathematically proved to not really work like that. What I'm looking for is for things to not operate as they should. But again, this is an experiment. Same with the Bollinger Bands, they're experiments. I don't trade. You notice that whenever I'm looking to take a trade, I'm not just saying, oh, look, the indicator, I keep going to the wrong scan. The indicator looks like it should trade. I'm looking at the patterns. The indicators are showing me what to look at. I could take all of these off a chart and I'd get so if you look at Star now, and let's just remove all of these, and you look at Star now, it's the same look, right? So I would look at it as, okay, we're getting tight up in here, right? We're just basing sideways. We've had a strong push up. I don't need the Bollinger Bands to show me that this is getting tight, right? It's one of those things that it helps when I'm scanning through things quickly, because when I see that these things are getting really, really tight in through here, it just allows me to go, yep, this is tighter than normal. I can look at it and say, okay, what's the last time that we got this tight? Well, we had a pretty okay move. So guides, but not something that should be leaned on. And if you're a new trader, I always recommend throwing out any, if not all, indicators until you get a plan that's kind of based around that. Oh crap, I didn't know NLS had earnings so I got to get out of that Monday, sometime Monday, regardless of what happens to price. Doesn't look like it's going to be a good one anyway. It's one that I probably should have entered or exited. This one's very interesting. And this is a new kind of a setup that I'm adding to my repertoire and I'm testing. So I'm going to add this one on for testing's sake anyway. But I really like the break up and then pull back to test the gap. And then it's putting in kind of like I showed you with cake, right? It broke out on earnings and then it's pulled back to test the gap 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And if it fails, you know exactly where you're wrong. If cake gets under 60, it's a bad trade. Get out, move on with your life. So BLMN has the same type of look. So I'm going to watch that one. If we kind of just bounce from here, it may be one of those scalps where maybe I can buy it here with a stop under yesterday's low and then target this high and maybe be in and out in a couple days. I keep going to the wrong. HSGC would be the same type of thing. So I'm going to watch this one as well. Broke out of this base, pulled back into it. See, it's holding the 20-day. And then if it turns up again, that may be a good one as well. 18% short float, already earnings out of the way this season. So that's fine. I love how ears was going crazy here at the same time eyes was. I think for the same hilarious reasons. Anyway, I wish I could find a place. I'm just checking my email here real quick because I've asked some old crypto buddies if they know anywhere to short Doge, just because I do think tonight may be a topping event for the market. Okay, I'm 50% correct. So you got a 50-50 shot that I'm right on that one. As soon as we get under kind of the 10% short float on this one, interesting. Brett stock mode stock. Yeah, potential double bottom. Personally for me, and you've got this, right, got kind of an RSI divergence going on here. It's just hasn't developed enough. Fernando, where to put the stop? It all depends on your setup. Now, for me, AL looks interesting here. Add that one. That one might be the one. When I do these videos, I like them to be stocks that are I don't think you're going to get murdered in AAL. You're going to have a chance to get out. Even during the pandemic crash, you had tons of chances to get out of this before it really started killing you. So let's use this for an example, right? So if I'm to buy AL, if we break out of this base on Monday, for me, the stop would be worst case, right? It's going to be under this candle's low, which is under the base. Could be under yesterday's low, which would be this Doge. I think that's a fine one. Could be under this low, which I think is fine as well. For me, it all depends. So if this opens up, say, here, and then pushes up, I'll put my stop under that day's low. If it just, opens and goes, then it will probably be down here. And a stop, in the way I look at it, is always a worst case stop. Right? It's when I put out a stop, that is, I set my 0.5% of my account, so $1,000, and say, okay, I'm going to risk $1,000 in this trade. That is hopefully the worst case. Things can gap, things can happen like that, but I want to make sure that, for example, AL rockets tomorrow and then closes back down here the next day. I'm going to be out. And that risk is going to be way less than that 1,000, because for me personally, I want to be in profit right away or out. And it just means that, I record all of my trading in Rs. And I did a video about this in the Back to Basics. If you haven't watched it, I recommend, but we just called it R multiple trading, where essentially you take a percentage of your account. I always say never more than 2. Again, I use lower than that myself, but teach their own. The number you pick is your own kind of a thing. But what you end up doing is as your account increases, you increase that R value as it goes. So a trade should never lose more than 1 R, which is just a shorthand for what your risk unit is. Most of the time, I would say I lose half an R. So if I'm risking $1,000 on most scenarios, I would lose half that. I would lose, in the neighborhood of $500, which means that if you're going for 2R or 2 times your risk, and you're generally getting stopped out at half an R, it really means you're making about 4 times your risk. And I know that was really math heavy and probably didn't translate too well, but it's basically just saying that whenever a lot of people will just set a stop and they say, that's my stop. I'm either going to get stopped out or I'm not. I look at it more as that is my worst case stop, right? That is, and my worst case stop is 0.5% to at max 1% of my account value. But my hope is that I never lose that much. For example, this one here, I bought right on this date right here. My stop went right down here. We spiked up, came back in. I should have gotten out, but I didn't. I was doing a webinar at the time, but now my stop is going to be under this day's low. So my initial stop was basically just looking at this support, but now, to be honest, I'll probably get out if we break down yesterday's low. So it's probably half of the value. So I was risking, I think, 500 or so on this value, but I'm really now only risking $250. So it means if I make, if we get up into this area and I make 1,000 or so, that's actually a couple times my risk, which is great. And I do like the look of this one. Again, I won't make a video about it because I'm already in, and I don't like that. But if you look at the anchored VWAP from the IPO, this is a new IPO, Corsair. They make gaming mice and keyboards and RAM and glowy RGB things. The average participants right in this area, we're getting really, really tight in through here, and we've got a 20% short float. So this is something that's very interesting to me. Oh, I already went through all these, I think. Most of them. Okay, so last but not least, let's look at the prior strength alerts. Again, this has just been, these two have been a monster. If you didn't net $17 for your month off these ones, what's going on? RGLY looks good. Most of these are going to be overextended, I think, but I do like to keep an eye on them. And this is one of the reasons why I like to keep an eye on them. I think Jupiter was actually alerted here. It pulled back, so it never triggered, for me anyway. And then I got in Jupiter on, no, this was around earnings, I think. I think I got in around this day and then out around that day. And again, Cake, I got in on Friday, even though it's alerted on Monday, because I just like the fact that on, was this Wednesday? And so basically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we all came down to try to retest 60 and failed. SIG might be good for another move. I don't know. I think it was alerted here. So yeah, I actually bought this one on a pullback, I remember, and then got stopped out break even. But it could be ready for another go. Earnings a while away, 10% short floats, interesting. Basically, we're going to keep this archive here for maybe a quarter and then wipe it out and start again. CM, sometimes the most boring things to trade. I looked at CM. It was actually alerted, I think, on this candle or this candle. I can't remember which one. And I said, oh, it's CIBC. We call it here. It's big, giant Canadian monolithic bank. I'm like, this isn't going to do too much. And, it's only 7% from $100 up. But geez, what a move. Just a painless 7%, which depending on your risk, could have been good. HTGC was right here. And again, that one was a monster. Could be putting in a little hook pattern to go higher. Not too sure about that. Home, Dvax. Dvax is interesting to me just because of this massive short float. It already had earnings on Thursday? No, yeah, Thursday night. So the reaction to earnings was strong. Seems to be holding this support really well. Maybe if it breaks over this doji right here, it could get going. Hig was alerted here, just kind of pulled back, but it's still in this base. So I am watching Hig, looking to see if maybe this gets a little tighter first. And that's it. 2 earnings sucked, but with 2, what I did, I actually traded this one, and I traded it on this pullback here, and then I was out in through here before earnings. So that is that. Yeah. PD says if a stock goes to 100, it'll go to 110. That is a really old school. Most people, you've probably been in the game for a while. That's a really old school type of a thing, which, you know, it'd be interesting to test. I'm sure you could. But yeah, that's a super kind of old school trader thing where they just say, yeah, you just buy it when it gets to, when you buy it when it gets to 100, and it will go to 110, and then if it breaks 110, it will go to 120. So I think it's going to be blue. I think that's going to be the video I'll make after this. It's going to be blue. So let's just talk quickly about the product. I always do this at the end because, again, I want to do this to a friendly group soon. So if I launch it and everyone's like, oh, this is garbage, then that's fine. I'll just give everyone their money back, and hopefully you guys will still watch my videos. But so let's go over here. Bitcoin's still just chopping, not doing anything. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we put in another topping tail up here, that'd be very interesting, but not looking like it. So old fogies know this is probably all the same stuff that I've mentioned, but this is basically what we're going to be doing, in which it's going to be a Discord group for all you guys to hang out, chat all you want. I'll be coming in. I think there's screen sharing or voice on Discord. So what I may come in and talk about trades in real time that I'm interested in. What this will not be, absolutely not be, and I'm hopefully never going to get into, is a signal service, right? So if you're looking for that, this won't be it. I don't believe in the, I believe you can have rooms where you do calls and all this stuff, but it's not the best for a long-term approach as a trader. For a long-term approach, I want to teach. My hope with all of these things, everything that I do, is eventually you don't need me. If you want to stick around, great. But so it's this educational, not signal. So again, the Discord group won't be me saying buy this or whatever. It will be a place for people to hang out. I'll come in every now and then, maybe post some things I'm interested in. Again, my scans, this will be a constantly updated Google Doc or something like that, a website, whatever, where I have all of the scans I'm using at the time, a little description of each one and what I look for with it. All the custom formulas will be put there as well. Monthly webinars for paid members only. This won't be streamed to YouTube or anything. It will be like a Zoom room where people can come in, turn on their mics, ask questions, chat. We'll do it once a month, probably on the weekend, and just make it like a real chill type vibe. Access to my trading journal where I'll post, bought this for this reason, sold it here for this reason, and you can follow along all those live. The beauty of this, I think it's more of my mentality behind things as opposed to the actual trades themselves. And then a private Twitter where I will tweet things that I'm interested in real time, and then after they become older, I'll push those to the real Twitter to keep that growing as well. Again, any suggestions, anything you think I should add, just knowing that the philosophy is to let people into my process, I don't want to sell the results of my process, but to let people into the process to help them build their own process so that they go along the way, and to give people ideas of things, my thoughts of the market, things like this at the time. So any suggestions or anything like that, knowing that philosophy, again, go to statsedgetrading.com, scroll down to the bottom here, pop in your email address, or I guess you can go into book a session. You don't have to book a session, but you can just say, hey, right, fill this in and say, right, feedback for product. Anyone who's emailed in and said, I'm interested, I want to get into the product, again, your email list is stored, and you'll get an email when it's launched, and you can check everything out there. Last question before I take off from WCC about the AI swing trader. The issue with the AI swing trader was the limited backtesting windows within trade ideas, right? 64 days. I believe that we need more. So first we're working on the server tech to do stuff like that, and then we're going to go from there. So basically the TI strength alerts is the AI swing trader for now. And that's right here. You click on this, you get all of the symbols for this week, and you get the welcome screen. This is a back-tested algorithm. Again, I'm not picking these stocks. I'm writing up these little descriptions and stuff, but the algorithm that I built is picking the stock. So this is the closest we have right now. The game plan is to use the same technology that Trade Ideas has that isn't user-facing. It's just too complicated. It would never work user-facing. But to build out a series of these strategies and then have the AI in the background optimize and run which ones work better, the same as we do with the other one. But again, the problem is we just need to build out that back end product that I have so I can go back and test things years. I want to go back when it's a swing trade. When it's a day trade, 64 days is fine. You don't want to go further back than that really when it comes to day trades, because the market changes so much. But when it comes to swing trading, I want to go back a year, and I want to keep testing back a 1 year period in order to make sure that we're able to have enough data to say, yes, this is something that we're interested in. So I hope that makes sense. And thank you everyone for coming out. I'm going to take off for the rest of the weekend. You guys should as well, right? Do your scanning, recuperate, get ready to hit her on Monday, and I'll talk